against Bitcoin.
It's going up forever.
You're against Bitcoin, you're against freedom.
Yo, welcome to another episode of Simply Bitcoin Live. We're number one source for the peaceful Bitcoin revolution, breaking news, culture, manic warfare. We will be your guide through the separation of money and state. Absolutely bonker news. Larry Fink, the CEO and chairman of BlackRock, the world's largest asset manager, said that the Bitcoin ETF was the best performing, or is the best performing ETF in history. Well, I mean, shouldn't surprise you. I think we actually even called for this back in January. We were talking about it and we saw it climbing up. And then the BlackRock Bitcoin ETF reached the top 10. Then it reached the top 5 out of 3,100 ETFs in the US. So again, should not come as a surprise to us Bitcoiners. Why is this happening? Well, it's because Bitcoin has superior incentives. It's a black hole. And it's just going to suck everything up. It is the superior asset. It is the best asset the world has ever seen. And Wall Street and these institutions are starting to get a taste of what absolute scarcity is like, and they can't get enough of it. Not to mention the fact that the halving is around the corner. Bitcoin has already made all-time highs, so we're in uncharted territory. I'm feeling bullish, to say the least. Now, all that being said, on the price front, I think it's great, right? You know, we have a lot of people, these institutions, the people with the money coming in, wanting to buy Bitcoin. From the revolutionary aspect, though, I think it's important to remember that the revolution is self-custody. And I think that the ETFs offer convenience in getting exposure to Bitcoin, but it's not really your Bitcoin. It's BlackRock's Bitcoin. It's really not BlackRock. I mean, it is BlackRock's technically, but it's Coinbase that are holding the keys. And all it takes is a 6102 order version, Bitcoin version, and all that Bitcoin that you thought belonged to you just goes poof at a snap of a finger. So I think that's important to remember. But again, extremely bullish news. And once again, he's not just saying this, in the dark alleys or dark corners or in this personal places. Like, he's saying this on the legacy financial media. So he said this on Fox Business. We have the clip for you guys. We'll play it. And on the other side, Michael Saylor was asked a really interesting question, which is that MicroStrategy is outperforming Bitcoin in the short term. And obviously, I believe that it functions as kind of like a leverage play. And people are just asking, like, why don't we just buy MicroStrategy if it's outperforming Bitcoin versus Bitcoin? And I really liked Saylor's answer. And he did mention the aspect of like, look, like if you don't live in the US, if you live anywhere around the world, you don't have access to MicroStrategy. You can't buy MicroStrategy stock. And he mentions the strengths and the advantages of self-custody, right? This is what makes Bitcoin different. And that's what a lot of people have to wrap their head around. That's what makes it different. Like, this isn't just a stock that you can buy on Robinhood. This isn't just money in your account. When you take Bitcoin into self-custody, it's a whole other paradigm. It's just completely different. No one's really talked about that enough. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to play it for you guys. And kind of interesting, yesterday, I did want to cover this. Marathon Digital Holdings mined a block and they put their logo on it. Obviously, it's a marketing gimmick. I think it was effective. I think they got their message across. So we have a little bit of details on that as well. And breaking news, we're really not going to cover this. I truly believe it's noise, but I am going to mention this. SBF got he got sentenced to, I believe it's between 20 to 25 years. Obviously, with good behavior, you really serve like 80% of the original sentence. So do you guys think that's fair? Let us know down in the comments. I personally believe the amount of money of which he scammed from people, I believe she should have got more. But at the same time, he was kind of like the darling of a lot of the industry. People were calling him the next Rockefeller. You heard that. He donated to both political parties. So it's funny how that works, right? And then people like Julian Assange, Ross Ulbricht, they're serving like multiple life sentences, or, you know, they've been in prison for a very long time, but someone who steals billions of dollars, like, actually hurts a lot of people. It's interesting how the sentencing is different. And it's almost as if he's, you know, he's playing by a different set of rules in a way. That's what it looks like from my perspective. It's almost as if he cozied up to the cartel. And when I say the cartel, I really mean the traditional financial system, the banking system. And, you know, he was their wonder boy, and all of a sudden he's being protected in a way. It's very, very strange. And what another part of the news as well is the idea that, you know, a lot of people got made whole. No. They got made whole in dollar terms. They did not get made whole in Bitcoin terms, right? So a lot of people got absolutely wrecked. So very, very interesting. I think it's up for a discussion. Let us know what you guys think about it in the comments. And if you guys really care to know about this, like, you know, for us to cover this, we'll cover it on tomorrow's episode. Anyways, no more delay. I do want to bring up my legendary co-host. He's always optimistic. How you doing, Opti?
Well, I am doing all right, man. I'm feeling kind of devastated this morning because I'm getting absolutely nuked in the March Maxi Madness right now. Odell is nuking me. I don't know if my ego can deal with this today. Oh, man. But other than that, everything's great, man. We live on the Bitcoin standard. We're Bitcoiners. Life's good. We get to watch Clown World. But yeah, man, very interesting seeing the SBF news drop this morning. And if you compare that to, you know, Ross Ulbricht, double life in prison for creating a website, it's, hey, you know, make of that what you will. But anyways, let's bring in our guests because I'm super hyped on this. We got Ant, the creator of Time Chain Stats, on the show today. And you don't know what Time Chain Stats is? It's an epic website. I use it basically every morning. You guys got to use it. So anyways, Ant, how you doing today? Good to have you. Really digging the mask today. This is an epic vibe.
Yeah, I got a little cold. I don't want to get y'all sick.
Let's go.
Oh man, yeah, I'm good, man. Chilling. It's good to see you guys again. Let's see, Nico. I don't know the last time I saw you. I think it might have been on the West Coast. Opti, I think maybe I saw you on the East Coast.
Yeah, no, I think it was Pacific Bitcoin the last time I saw you. Maybe, I don't know. It's all a blur, dude. It's all a blur,
dude. I mean, it's been a minute. Time Chain Stats is awesome. It's a great way to check the Bitcoin stats. It's very unique and it's an awesome contribution to the community. So I think it's important that we cover, you know, these types of things, these types of projects that Bitcoiners are contributing to the overall Bitcoin ecosystem. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, Opti's laughing. I don't know what.
No, it's the chat, dude. Sorry, I'm not laughing at you. It's the chat. The chat's going, yeah. Just keep going. The chat's going absolutely ham. People are celebrating the SBF. Madoff got 150 years. SBF was just a bad. Yeah, I mean, interesting. People are saying, "Why are you hidden?" That's OPSEC, guys. Come on, OPSEC.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, really, you know. I mean, on any of these things,
do you mean our guest or do you mean the live stream? Let us know down in the chat. Let us know in the chat if you could find the Simply Bitcoin live stream this morning, because we're getting some mixed messages from people. Anyways, guys, it's gonna be a great show. Extremely excited. Let's jump into it. We have a lot to cover, but before we do get into it, I do want to give a very special shout out to Bitcoin Well, Simply Bitcoin's lead sponsor. Bitcoin Well is the first Bitcoin on-ramp in the United States to be self-custody by default. What does that mean? That means that you can't buy Bitcoin on Bitcoin Well unless you're going to take self-custody. Self-custody is the revolution, and they're trying to make it the default in the US, which perfectly aligns with the Simply Bitcoin ethos of the separation of money and state. Also, check out the Bitcoin Jackpot Contest, also being thrown by the guys over at Bitcoin Well. Currently, the jackpot is just a little shy of 3.5 million Satoshis. The way that you enter is you go to bitcoinwell.com/contest, sign up to the platform. If you're an existing member, go to the rewards tab. Anytime you buy Bitcoin, you earn points, and you could put those points towards the jackpot. They've also been giving away lots of Bitcoin stuff, lots of Bitcoin merchandise, like the Passport by Foundation Devices, a book by Seb Bunny, seed plates, and a bunch of other stuff. So definitely don't want to miss the giveaways that they've been doing. Guys, check out bitcoinwell.com today. Best place to build your automatic self-custody Bitcoin stack. All right, everybody, let's get to the numbers. We have a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Bitcoin numbers.
Is your Bitcoin in cold storage really secure? Is your seed phrase really secure? Stamp Seed's do-it-yourself kit has everything you need to hammer your seed words into commercial-grade titanium plates instead of just writing them on paper. Don't store your generational wealth on paper. Paper is prone to water damage, fire damage. You want to put your generational wealth on one of the strongest metals on planet Earth, titanium. Your words are actually stamped into this metal plate with this hammer and these letter stamps. And once your words are in, they aren't going anywhere. No risk of the plate breaking apart and pieces falling everywhere. Titanium stamped seeds will survive nearly triple the heat produced by a house fire. They're also crush-proof, waterproof, non-corrosive, and time-proof. All things that paper is not, allowing you to hodl your Bitcoin with peace of mind for the long haul. Stamp your seed on Stamp Seed. Incredibly easy for you guys. You could scan the QR code on your screen right now. It'll take you directly to the Stamp Seed website where you can use the promo code simply to get 15% off. Store your generational wealth properly. Do it on the Stamp Seeds storage kit. At the time of recording, the Bitcoin price is 70,980 sats per dollar, 1,409. Block height 836,687. Blocks to halving 3,313. Halving estimate April 20th, 2024. Total Lightning Network capacity 4,376 Bitcoin. Capacity value $310 million US. Realized monetary inflation 1.73%. The market capitalization of Bitcoin currently at 1.4 trillion US dollars. Bitcoin versus gold market cap 10.1%. The grand scheme of things, Bitcoin is just getting started. Anyways, here's a clip of Michael Saylor being asked. Here's Trey Salos from Unchained. He says, quote, "I've made 5 times more buying MicroStrategy than buying Bitcoin. Should we just buy your stock?" Let's check out Saylor's answer. Here we go.
Hi, I love what you're doing in your stock. In fact, I've made 5 times more on your stock and derivatives around it than buying Bitcoin. So one of my questions would be, why should we buy Bitcoin? Why don't we just buy your stock? And what do you think the halving event is really going to do to the price?
Bitcoin's a commodity. It's an asset without an issuer. Whenever you invest in a company, you're taking counterparty risk. In order to invest in my stock, you should reasonably read 1,000 pages of disclosures. And I'll make the obvious point. People in Nigeria can't self-custody MicroStrategy stock. So what we're trying to solve the problem of creating integrity, sovereignty, truth and hope for the world. That's going to be done by a protocol, right? MicroStrategy is simply a high performance business, right? There's a lot of other businesses, and every business does their thing in the world as best they can. So we offer a very particular thing to us. We offer convertible debt to convertible arbitrageurs, and they have billions of dollars of capital, and they can only convertible arbitrage. So if we didn't give it to them, their capital wouldn't come in the ecosystem. And so that 1.4 billion that I got came from them, that went into Bitcoin. I need to do something for them. It's a complicated something. There's a lot of volatility to it, right? There's a limit to how much we can do.
Can we just buy your stock then?
The truth is, I would recommend to anybody that's interested in Bitcoin, they should study Bitcoin before they buy anything. And then after they study Bitcoin for 100 hours, I would say you ought to buy the Bitcoin. The real debate ought to be, do you buy the Bitcoin in self-custody, buy the Bitcoin institutional custody, buy the Bitcoin through an ETF? Because
what about the halving?
Bitcoin is the innovation, right? Bitcoin is the innovation. If you're if you are a professional investor and you have billions of dollars of capital. By the way, the investors in my company aren't allowed to buy Bitcoin, nor are they allowed to buy the ETF. Their charter is, here's $10 billion, you have to invest in publicly traded operating companies. So my company is meeting a need for certain types of investors that are sophisticated. I'm not here to promote my company, right? I expect Bitcoin will be here 1,000 years from now. My company won't be, I won't be, right? There's not much to be said there.
I mean, that's a really strong statement, right? He's like, look, I'm sure that Bitcoin's going to be here 1,000 years from now. I don't think my company will be here 1,000 years from now. I mean, like, it's pretty humble to say that, right? And, you know, I like the other aspect, which is like, look, like a lot of people that are buying my stock, they don't have the legal avenue to get exposure to Bitcoin. So their way of getting exposure to Bitcoin is by buying my company. And then he said, look, I'm not here for this. I'm here for Bitcoin at the end of the day. But at the same time, you can't deny that Michael Saylor has provided a tremendous amount of shareholder value for anyone who is buying the MicroStrategy stock. That's undeniable at this point. Absolutely crushed it. But look, coming from my perspective, 5x is a lot for sure. But then you kind of go down the trading aspect. And what I've noticed is that hindsight is 2020, right? You know, there's a lot of things that outperform Bitcoin in the short term, but in the long term, it's a totally different conversation. And what I've tended to notice is the people that have just stayed humble, stack sats, just bought Bitcoin, earned Bitcoin, mined Bitcoin, taking that Bitcoin into self-custody, have patience, have tended to end up with more Bitcoin and have tended to end up in a much better financial situation than the people that tried to time the market, trade the market. So that's what we advocate for here on Simply Bitcoin. Is just buy spot Bitcoin, take it into self-custody, low time preference, and over time, I promise you, I'm going to use an even stronger word. I guarantee you that your life will get better because it will get cheaper. The things around you will become less expensive. It's awesome living on a Bitcoin standard. It's awesome living on a deflationary standard. Highly recommend it for anybody who's listening. Anyways, Opti, what's your take on that? Saylor was a bit humble in his response. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, the allure of buying some MicroStrategy right now. I think we're seeing this on Twitter as well. Like all the Bitcoin maxis are arguing right now. It's like, do I buy MicroStrategy or do I just buy Bitcoin? Numbers going up on the MicroStrategy stock. Like it's been absolutely ripping. I don't own any, but I'd be lying if I didn't say like, man, just throw a little money at MicroStrategy. It's going to go up. It's almost going parabolic right now. But of course, I just hold Bitcoin. We were talking about it yesterday. It's like I only hold a few things, and it's Bitcoin, Simply Bitcoin, and my recording gear. That's like basically all I own right now, and it just simplifies your life. Like I really like how Michael Saylor put it in context. He's like, my company's not going to be here in 1,000 years. You know, I'm not going to be here in 1,000 years. Like Bitcoin, as far as we can tell, will be here for the long term. And it's something that you can hold long term that doesn't have counterparty risk. And I love how Saylor was saying all this. And you can tell it's just like going over that guy's head. He's like, wait. So number goes up, goes higher on MicroStrategy. I should just buy MicroStrategy. And I mean, guys, we say it all the time. Like Bitcoin is the stable money in the world. This is what you want to be holding. Yes, of course, if you want to, or rather, if you have money in the financial system and like Saylor was saying, and you can't get it into Bitcoin, you can't get it into ETFs, then of course, buy some MicroStrategy. Like, I don't think there's a one size fits all blueprint here, but hey, if you have cash on the sidelines and you're looking for something, then of course it's Simply Bitcoin. Just simply buy some Bitcoin, hold it in your own custody, and go live life. You know, Bitcoin and chill. It's so much easier. I don't want to be a trader, but man, the MicroStrategy stock is going parabolic. It's pretty crazy. Anyways, Ann, what's your thoughts on this?
I don't trust those legacy markets anymore, guys. Like, you know, like a lot of people. When I got off zero, it was literally cashing out my stock account and, you know, moving that money over into Bitcoin. So it's like, and I never look back. Like, I tried to trade back in those old days on the market and stuff. And it's just, you hold Facebook forever and it doesn't even move. Or when it does, you got locked out of the real IPO. They had the IPO, but like you didn't really get that first piece. They talked about Alibaba stock and how that was going to be like the IPO of the century. You had to get into that. You had to get into it. And like, they did well, like Alibaba did well. But I remember personally, trying to be in that IPO, and it was like, if you weren't in the club, like you didn't get to be a part of it. Like I just don't trust those legacy markets with your 401k. If you're trapped in that, like, I guess it could make sense. But to me, listening to all that I just listened to, it just comes down to, who's issuing it? Like who are you buying that from? And, that's kind of the bottom line for me. I just can't trust those legacy markets anymore.
100%
facts,
guys. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to smash that like button right now. We're currently at 64 likes. Help us break 100 likes within the first hour of the live show. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're watching us on Twitter, make sure to smash that like button. If you're watching us on Rumble, smash it as well.
Yeah, wait, Nico, can I read this comment right here? Shouts out to Jose Salgado. He goes, they haven't unlocked the guest yet.
Oh man, but yeah, no, I agree with you 100%, and I don't trust the legacy markets whatsoever. That's why I'm all in Bitcoin. That's what I like. I like the fact that it's in self custody. I like the fact that I completely control it. I think it's a one-way door too. I think once people feel the power of self custody, I think it kind of changes your outlook. But I mean, I'm not going to name any names, but I've had some interesting conversations on Simply Bitcoin IRL with people that are older, people that have accumulated large net worths, and they feel a little bit differently. They like the convenience of the ETF. They like the idea of, oh, look, this is super easy. I already have money in my brokerage account. It's so easy for me to just, oh, look, let's just buy the ETF. It's easy. I don't have to take it out of my brokerage account. But I don't know, maybe it's because we're from the younger generation that got completely effed during the 2008 financial crisis, and we're a little bit more skeptical of the system. But yeah, I think that if we actually want to change things, like, of course, it's nice to get rich. It's nice for number to go up, right? But I think that there's a different aspect of this 100%, which is a peaceful revolution. The peaceful revolution consists of literally, enough people taking self-custody, and then, things completely change. I don't know. And what do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that if you're one of these corporations managing a corporate treasury, and it may be hard to hold Bitcoin directly in your, company. Like I can imagine the CFOs walking up to their boss, and even still with the conversation, like if they would have bought, moved just like a fraction of their treasury into Bitcoin, during the last cycle, especially during like, say, the COVID crash, or even before that, when it was hanging around 4,000, if they would have put, a fraction, they could potentially be sitting on, a large treasury right now, just in that one piece. But, the companies will be afraid to do it. Like the companies can't do it. In some ways, their hands are tied, depending on what, the way the company is structured and set up. So there's going to be, people that this product and this type of product, this legacy, Bitcoin ETF type product that will appeal to that, type of person. And then, of course, also these older boomers, they're just so scared of buying Bitcoin, and it's just funny to see. I mean, I get it. Like the clock on their VCR is still flashing, and they still have a VCR, but it's just, I mean, you just have to kind of see it go. I think that's, there's a couple of little stuck use cases like that. Like I said, if your 401k, you may have that thing stuck in some, basket of like mid cap, whatever your stuff is, and it's just not even moving, barely moving. I mean, maybe it makes sense to build some kind of a Bitcoin basket, if you're stuck in there anyway, and you have the ability to do it. I just think a lot of these companies are stuck. It would be great for more companies to jump off, and add Bitcoin to their corporate treasury. But it's just going to take more time.
100%. Yes, it's going to take more time, but I think it's irresistible. I think people are just I think that if you see what is happening with Michael Saylor and what he's doing, and that the fact that it's succeeding, you can't just ignore it 100%. I would say that, not only do you put your company in a bad situation, but you can make the case that you're hurting your shareholders because you don't have exposure to Bitcoin, right? So I think it's inevitable that all these companies follow in Michael Saylor's footsteps eventually. I don't know how long they'll be able to hold out for. I do want to give a very special shout out to our merch drop. And of course, we teamed up with a Bitcoin artist called Asanoa, and we have all these different, shirts and stuff. Of course, buy Bitcoin first. But if you guys want to help support Simply Bitcoin and help us stay independent, you guys could support us by buying some of our merch. So we have the Peaceful Bitcoin Revolution with the Guy Fawkes mask. We have the gold Bitcoin pill shirt. We have a gold Bitcoin snapback. We have a gold Bitcoin dad hat. We have the Woman's Peaceful Revolution tank. We have the Woman's Bitcoin pill tank. Go check it out. You can check the link in the video description or check the QR code on your screen. All right, everybody, let's get to news. We have a lot to talk about.
The Daily News.
I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Foundation Devices. It's self-custody done right. They built a premium grade hardware wallet called Passport right here in the US. It's fully open source and verifiable. It's the most intuitive Bitcoin wallet designed with a UX reminiscent of a simple feature phone. So you will know how to navigate it and use it the moment you pick it up. Get your Bitcoin off exchanges and into your own hands in just a few minutes. Experience the peace of mind that comes with taking ownership of your own keys. After a massive sellout during Bitcoin Miami 2023, the Passport is back in stock at foundationdevices.com. Bitcoin only, open source verifiable, completely air-gapped security model, gorgeous design craft, premium grade materials. If you're thinking about getting your Bitcoin off exchanges, this is the one for you. Check out the Passport link in the show notes below to learn more. All right, guys, I made it incredibly easy for you guys. You could scan the QR code on your screen. It will take you directly to the Foundation Devices website where you guys can get yourself a Passport hardware wallet. Remember, guys, not your keys, not your cheese. Quick ETF update. So BlackRock continues to stack. Yesterday, they had 245,000 Bitcoin. Today, they have 200. They have 250,000 Bitcoin. The Fidelity one seems to be going a little bit sideways with 143,000 Bitcoin. But just to kind of give you guys an idea, right? The vast majority of Bitcoin is still held by the early adopters. It's still held by individuals. It's about 11 million Bitcoin that is held by people, right? Just to kind of give you guys an idea. Yes, these large asset managers are coming in. Yes, this large public company, Michael Saylor, is coming in, but the vast majority of Bitcoin is still held by people. Anyways, this is the video that I wanted to play for you guys today. Again, I think it's a historic video, major milestone in Bitcoin's history. Here you have Larry Fink, the BlackRock chairman and CEO, the largest asset manager in the world, and he's going on Fox Business and he's saying some interesting things. Let's check it out.
Look, I'm very bullish on the long-term viability of Bitcoin.
I was going to say, did that surprise you?
That surprised me how much that's gone up. I mean, look, it is. We're creating now a market that has more liquidity, more transparency, and I'm pleasantly surprised, and I would never have predicted it before we filed it, that we were going to see this type of retail demand.
So you thought you'd do good, but not this good.
I thought, yes. Yes,
well, IBIT is your ETF over at iShares.
Yes.
It's about to overtake Grayscale, which was in the business certainly a lot longer. You look at the gains since January 11th when it first came about.
Yes.
Have you ever seen this much inflow this quickly into
IBIT is the fastest growing ETF in the history of ETFs. Look, I'm very bullish on the long-term viability.
It's looping, yeah.
So the IBIT BlackRock Bitcoin ETF is the fastest growing in the history of ETFs. Like, that's all you need to know, right? And this is Bitcoin's incentives doing what Bitcoin's incentives do best. I think you can't just look away, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that the Vanguard CEO said, "Oh, I'm not going to continue being the CEO," about a month after he said that Vanguard was not going to release a Bitcoin ETF. I think everyone is going to eventually bow down to the king. Now this is just institutions. This is just public companies, but eventually I think it's going to be governments. I think it's going to be central banks, and they're not going to be able to resist Bitcoin's incentives. And I think this is a testament to this. Look, let the numbers speak for themselves. Another thing that I wanted to mention too is, do you remember how much pushback they got from the federal government? You remember that, guys? Of course you remember that, right? Do you remember the slow walking from Gary Gensler? Then when they finally approved it, he was like grinding his teeth. He like wrote like basically an essay saying this is a terrible idea. I mean, why did the government step in and want to stop something that clearly the market wanted? Does the government really have a role? Is that the government's role in the economy, in the role in people's lives to get to dictate what's okay and what's not okay? And I think that's just Bitcoin doing what Bitcoin does best. It exposes incentives, and I think it exposed incentives there. But anyways, this is crazy. I can't believe this. Mind you, 5 years ago in 2017, Larry Fink was literally saying that Bitcoin was no better than it was an index of money laundering, so to speak. Fast forward 5 years later, Bitcoin's incentives. Michael Saylor also said that Bitcoin's days were numbered. And then what happened? Fast forward a couple years later, and Michael Saylor is one of the biggest Bitcoin proponents, to the point where he's on video literally saying, "I don't know if my company's going to be around in 1,000 years, but I know for a fact Bitcoin's going to be around." Anyways, here's HODL 15 Capital. It says a strong net inflow day for US Bitcoin ETFs, with 254 million today, despite 300 million outflow by GBTC. So we had a positive inflow day. GBTC, look, there's another thing that you guys have to keep in mind, right? They started out with like 600,000 Bitcoin. They're down to 350,000 Bitcoin. Eventually, they're going to run out of Bitcoin to sell. Right? That's just the reality. You can only do that once. And we learned that during the fork wars, right? You had the largest cabal, the most powerful companies in Bitcoin at the time. You had Jihan Wu, you had Bitmain, the largest Bitcoin ASIC manufacturers, and they literally wanted to change Bitcoin to benefit themselves. And the people rose up and said no, right? And what ended up happening? Not only Roger Ver and Jihan ended up burning through a lot of Bitcoin that they had to artificially make the Bitcoin Cash hash rate higher, and to convince people for a short amount of time, because it was very expensive to do this, and I believe they did it through like the South Korean exchange. They tried to psyop people into believing that Bitcoin Cash was the real Bitcoin. But you know what happened? They ended up running out of Bitcoin to be able to fund that. And then what ended up happening, market incentives took over. If you take a look at the Bitcoin Cash hash rate today, it is literally dead. It's going sideways. If you take a look at the Bitcoin hash rate, it is literally going absolutely parabolic, right? So anyway, want a little quick ETF update, and then also I want to talk about this as well before I get our panel's thoughts. Check this out, kind of like a marketing thing by Marathon. It says, why did Marathon Digital Holdings, Maripool, just mine a block with their logo on it? I'll get to that, but first, here's some of the things I haven't seen anyone talk about. 1, each colored square represents a transaction in the block. 2, to achieve this visual effect, the block was constructed with the mempool space block visualizer in mind. 3, the different colors are achieved by including different fees in each transaction. 4, all the transactions were for 0 Bitcoin. Fees paid for each of the squares. Green, 8 cents. Orange, $11.21. A maroon, $149.46. Total fees paid, $122,542. But that doesn't matter because Marathon paid these fees to itself. So why did they do this? For marketing and attention purposes, and has worked beautifully because any press is good press, right? I mean, look, it depends, like, really ideologically how you see it. Right now, it's very contentious in the Bitcoin community. A lot of people feel very strongly about ordinals. People feel very strongly about certain things that people are putting into blocks because people feel that block space is precious. But on the other side, people are saying, okay, like, look, like, it's a free market. Like, this is a miner. They're totally in their right to do this. If they want to set money on fire, if they want to miss out on the fees just to do this for, a marketing gimmick, like, they're perfectly entitled to do so, right? So I don't know. It is a very kind of contentious hot button issue, which is exactly why I'm going to throw it to Ant. Ant, what's your thoughts on this? And then the BlackRock stuff.
Well, I mean, I don't want to talk about the BlackRock stuff, but I will say that as far as the Marathon thing, I mean, people just need to go back and remember Marathon's actions. All we have in this space are actions. As far as this block, a lot of people got upset and got all heated, and they, put it in different contexts, and some people don't really care about it and stuff. The reality is people are playing around with Bitcoin, and there's a new protocol, and some people are playing with it in ways that other people don't like. Some people are not playing with it at all, and the reality is we're all just here at such a nascent time in Bitcoin's history that we're all just kind of seeing this play out. It's going to keep happening in wave after wave. There's going to be attacks, and there's going to be people coming in, and from our perspective, we've been here for a while, and we'll keep seeing it for what it is. But there's a lot of people that won't be able to properly contextualize that, and that's going to be the interesting thing to see.
100%. Opti, what's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'll start with the Mara stuff. I totally agree with what Ant was saying. I'm personally a monetary maxi, but I also understand, this is a free market, and hey, if they want to do this, there's nothing I can really do to stop them. But also, it does feel like a wasted block, and people that need to actually transact on the network are basically being priced out so that they can do some marketing. And it's kind of like, I don't know, it seems very frivolous to me.
Yeah, but isn't that like a slippery slope? Because it's like,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's like, who am I to say? I have my opinion. It is what it is. Like Ant was saying, new people are going to come to the space, and more people are going to try to experiment and quote unquote have fun on Bitcoin. Whereas I just look at like, man, saving in the hardest money in the world is the most fun we can be having. Like, this is the greatest thing ever. And then on the Larry Fink stuff, I just want to comment one thing, basically. Remember Larry Fink fudding Bitcoin for so many years, and now he's like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. I am so bullish on Bitcoin. Again, I say it all the time. It's the, quote unquote, that I've been calling it, the billionaire playbook. You FUD Bitcoin, you try to get the price low, you stack your bags, and then once your bags are packed or your position is oriented, then you start to embrace Bitcoin. And this is what we're seeing. Larry Fink's pumping our bags for better or worse. It is what it is. They're the new entrants into the space. And we've been seeing at least how long's the ETF been out? Like 2 months, maybe almost 3 months now. Wall Street is loving Bitcoin. So I think this was an inevitable progression of what we're going to see in Bitcoin. But this is why we constantly double down on the idea of every single one of you guys running a node, taking Bitcoin into custody, not buying the ETFs, because you don't want to get rug pulled by Wall Street. This is why you want to hold the real thing, which is Bitcoin. It's the best money in the world. To hold it yourself. Do not trust the middlemen. Again, it's literally in the white paper. We don't need the middlemen, and yet people love the middlemen. Man, humans are funny. They love convenience, and here we are. Larry Fink's capitalizing on it. He's got the leader in the ETF race. They're making their fees off of this, and hey, he's happy about it. And I guess this is just where we are, and this is why, as a Bitcoiner, it's important for us to continue to double down on the Bitcoin first principles of taking Bitcoin in custody, buying the actual thing, running a node, and transacting with other Bitcoiners, so that the circular economy does grow and people actually use Bitcoin as money instead of, all this other crazy stuff going on. But hey, it, again, like Ant said, we're still so early in this new monetary experiment that is Bitcoin, that we're going to be seeing new stuff like this happen. And again, it's only been like 2 or 3 months, so I'm sure the free market will figure this out in the long run. And guys, it's still under 100K. So like, continue to stack sats. As much Bitcoin as they're buying, the price hasn't started moving yet. And I think we're going to see that after the halving, that's going to start changing. And I think people are going to realize that they just need to hold the real thing. They need to hold Bitcoin.
100%. 100%. Also, in other news, I do want to get to this as well. And Ant is scaring the living shit out of me. Just getting close to that thing. For anyone, by the way, who's not familiar with just the Bitcoin ethos and just kind of Bitcoin culture, and is he wants to remain anonymous, which I completely respect. And just in case you guys are new to the show and you have no idea why there's a guy in a tracksuit with the black mask on. Anyways,
dude, this is called fashion, Nico. What are you talking about?
Oh God! All right, so I do want to cover this. SEC scores big win in lawsuit against crypto exchange Coinbase. I love the chat. Great Gravedigger says shadowy super shadow hacker. Oh my God, super shadow super coder. Oh my God. Okay. Anyways, so this is a CNBC article. SEC scores big win in lawsuit against crypto exchange Coinbase. Here are the key points. The SEC scored a major win in a lawsuit against Coinbase. A judge ruled that the SEC claimed that the cryptocurrency exchange engaged in unregistered sales of securities could be heard by a jury at trial. Coinbase shares were trading around 2.5% lower on the news of the ruling in Manhattan federal court. So it's something that we've been covering over the last couple months. If you put a lot of these quote unquote cryptocurrency and altcoins, if you put them against the so-called Howey test that determines if something is a security or is not a security, I would say the vast majority of that, I would say everything but Bitcoin is technically a quote unquote security, but they're going to have a hard time. I think the government's going to have a hard time proving its case. Number one, because I think a lot of people hold a lot of these altcoins. And number two, Ethereum, which is clearly a security. The vast majority of Ethereum is still held by the Ethereum Foundation. The founders kept a big bag, Ripple as well. But look, they're talking about Ethereum, potentially an Ethereum ETF being launched by BlackRock. I think there's a lot of money behind a lot of these altcoin projects. So I think a lot of people that are rooting for the government to step in and say, hey, everything else but Bitcoin is a security. You guys aren't thinking like capitalists, really. Bitcoin has to win in the free and open market. Let Bitcoin's incentives rule the day. Let the altcoins do what the altcoins do. Like rooting for government intervention so that your, quote unquote, your bag wins, what Bitcoin wins, I think is like, it's a little bit hypocritical, right? It's a little bit hypocritical to what Bitcoiners stand for. Which is this idea of small government. The government shouldn't be involved in our lives. So little quick update there, kind of interesting. And look, at the end of the day, Coinbase is like the quote unquote cryptocurrency exchange that is public. It's the darling. It's holding all these, all the ETFs, all their Bitcoin is being custodied by Coinbase. So they have a tremendous amount of influence in Washington, D.C. So I don't know, man, because that was kind of like a narrative. Remember that, Opti, like 6 to 9 months ago? A lot of people were like rooting that, like, in a way, I saw it on Twitter. It's like a lot of people were like, yeah, like Cardano, it's a security. It can't be sold. Like, but that's kind of like weird. It's like weird as a Bitcoiner to like have that attitude. It's like, yeah, like, okay, it's a security. We want the government to stop the trading on Coinbase. Like, no, bro. Like let the free market do what the free market does best. Bitcoin's going to win at the end. But little quick update there on the Coinbase front. Opti, what's your take?
Yeah, I mean, it's just simple meme for me, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. We saw that Coinbase has taken that shitcoin route, and now they are dealing with the SEC. That the Howey test is pretty clear, and everything but Bitcoin's a security. So like, I don't think we need new regulatory moats or updating the rules.
But that's fine.
I totally get it. I know.
But okay, but let's talk about what you just said, right? You said like everything but Bitcoin is a security. Fine, by the Howey test. But this is like where like I was a little bit confused because I saw this on Twitter where it's like, do you really want the government to step in and get to dictate who the winners and the losers are? Like, that's really strange to me. Like,
no, I don't. But also, like, there's laws here, and
Opti's a status. Where's the?
No,
where's the thing?
I'm just saying, like, you can't just recreate something and expect to skirt the consequences. I'm just like, this is why I'm a Bitcoiner.
Opti's a status.
This is why I'm a Bitcoiner. Status. It's very simple. Bitcoin's the only thing that can't be controlled by laws or by an individual. Like it's pretty clear as far as I'm concerned. But hey, again, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. But to be clear though, this case isn't fully closed yet.
The chat is going ham. Okay, all right, Opti, hold your thoughts for a second. I do want to pass it on to the actual purest Bitcoiner on the show today. Which is Ant, because
all right, I'll see myself out.
Just his appearance and everything. Ant, what are your thoughts on this, man? Do you see, like, where do you stand on this? Because I know where I stand. Like, look, fine, it's a security, whatever, but the government going in there and getting to tell people what they can and what they can't buy, I think is absolutely absurd.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a state element that, position that runs in Bitcoin, especially right now in the early days. Where are you on that line? What kind of government actions and state violence can be taken and whatever? Look, we live in a framework already where certain laws exist. And if you are going to break those laws, like, I'm not going to shed a tear for you when you get caught and when you get dealt with by this government. Like, it's the way it is. And, as far as this goes with Coinbase and I mean, we all know that it's a kind of a shitcoin casino. I mean, you log into it, they got so much garbage on there that how long can it go? And the funny thing for me right now would be, like, imagine if Coinbase, and others have said it, not just me, but I mean, imagine if it's Coinbase that takes on the big fall and they're like the FTX of this next cycle. Like, not saying they're going to run the same kind of deal. They're not going to, I'm not trying to compare them and say they're going to run a fraud like SBF. I'm just saying, like, what if, I mean, they're holding all these ETFs, right? Like the custody of these things and the shit coins that they're having to operate with. Like, we've already seen when you allocate resources to these shit coins, trying to make them viable. I mean, it's how much money are you spending and time and it creates from a security standpoint, it creates like a larger attack vector as far as like failure is concerned. It's more of it introduces more points of failure. So it would be funny to see that they would be the ones that would potentially cause the big 80% if we're going to have another 80%. Past performance doesn't predict future and all of that.
So I'm really curious to hear what you guys think in the audience, right? So clearly I'm the free market maxi, and Ant I think is somewhere in between, and I think Opti is all the way on the collectivist side. But yeah, I mean, look, I am so jaded with the whole thing. And this is an interesting conversation, guys. If you're listening to the pre-recorded version of the show, let us know down in the comments. Do you think it's right for the government to kind of step in and say, hey, Coinbase, you shouldn't be selling these altcoins because they're securities, and then whatever? Do you believe, like, let the market kind of deal with it itself? Let us know down in the comments what you guys think. But I'm just like, I'm a bit jaded, and Opti, because I saw what happened during the ETF rollout. And it was so clearly manipulated, and they dropped the ball so bad. Like, first, some intern released it like that they were going to accept the ETF a day before. Then they deleted the tweet. Then Bitcoin pumped. Then the next day they're like, you know what? Actually, it is approved. Bitcoin pumped again. So like the people that are supposed to stop the market from being manipulated, actually manipulated the market. And for anyone who had, for whatever reason, they were using leverage, they got completely wiped out because of the SEC's actions. Forgive me if I'm skeptical if that same government agency is tasked to kind of go in there and say, hey, I can't buy this and I can't do this. I saw a comment in the live chat basically saying something like, look, like, you know, you can't sell cyanide in the supermarket. But I mean, like, look, like I come from the school of thought where if we're right about Bitcoin and Bitcoin is a superior asset and it has the best incentives, it will win in the free market without any help from any institution or government or anything like that. That's what I believe. And I saw your head shaking. What are your thoughts?
Oh, I didn't know if you were venturing into the like Bitcoin doesn't need anything to survive conversation. And as I was hearing that, it was kind of sounding like that. And I was like, I just don't agree with that. But go ahead, please.
No. I mean, Bitcoin doesn't need anything. I wasn't going into that, but what do you mean by that?
Yeah, maybe I just misheard it. It's on me.
No, but what do you mean by that? Like, what is that argument?
No, you hear a lot of these people around here, like, you know, when you'll see them, they'll say things like, you know, Bitcoin's inevitable, like it's going to survive no matter what, and we don't have to do stuff to it, and like it's going to just eat the world no matter what, and you know, all attacks are good for Bitcoin, and like all that other stuff, and it's just, you know, when I hear that, I start to shake my head. So that's what you just witnessed.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I misheard you though.
Yeah. So to be clear, no, I don't think Bitcoin's going to win by default. I think that, and of course we're from the media side, so we kind of see it from the educational perspective, educational point of view, where this is about winning over the hearts and minds of people. This is about really getting people to wake up to the realities of they can take back their financial sovereignty through self-custody, by using the right, using a hardware wallet, using the right on-ramps and all that stuff. I think that if we just kind of stand still and do nothing, I think the other side, they kind of have an advantage on the information front. I think a lot of people are still asleep, and I think that they will willingly walk into the CBDC traps without any type of knowledge about it, right? So I think that there's definitely a lot of work to be done as Bitcoiners from an educational level. Opti and I are technical guys, right? So maybe on the technical front, I can't really speak from a place of expertise on that side. But what's your take on that, Ant?
I mean, I just think that we're early days, and there's, you know, some of these thoughts about what could be good or bad for Bitcoin right now. We're just, you know, none of us really know. It's like that old saying where, you know, you have that elephant and you got like 5 different people touching it, you know, and they're trying to say like what they're trying to describe, like what it is. It's just so new, and like none of us really know. Like we're watching it, we're looking at it, and we're seeing, you know, Bitcoin in our lives. The reality is, the way that I view it is, when I think of Bitcoin, I think that, you know, since 2009, the entire world has been forcibly pushed into like extreme savings mode, whether they know it or not. And it's like they literally every single thing, every single purchase, everything that, you know, is happening in your life has to be re-examined. And I mean, that's kind of the way that I think about it.
Gotcha. What can people do on an individual level? Like because you come from the school of thought that I come from, which is Bitcoin hasn't won yet. I think people have to take agency. They have to take action. What advice would you give to, let's say, your friends and your family?
Yeah. I mean, I tried it all, you know. I did trading back in the early days, and, you know, I mean, I'd mined, you know, bought over the counter. Like, I mean, I've earned it from doing jobs. Like, you know, at this stage in the game, and you'll hear this too, it's almost like a trope, you know, Bitcoin's for saving and whatever. I mean, it is though, in the sense that, I mean, I just said it, we're under this hardcore like savings force now, where with a deflationary asset like this, that is like reflecting all of the other assets in real time and monetary instruments in real time, then it comes down to the realization of, okay, well, how many are there? How many can I get? I see that there's this thing and it's like blowing up. Like, how many can I get? And, you come into it with this investment mindset or trading and, mindset. You come in it because number go up. But when you realize that we're just kind of living through this phase and, we're not going to get another chance. Like, it's us that are living through it like this, to accumulate this novel asset. And the fact that it's hard cap at 21 million units, it just makes it so that, the time is now. And so when you think about it in those terms, what I tell my friends and family is stop thinking about buying Bitcoin. Like, just get that out of your mind, like buying Bitcoin. The idea would be you get paid from your job. And I mean, you can trade Bitcoin, you can do whatever you want. You can do shit coins, whatever it is you think to get more Bitcoin, whatever. But one of the most reliable strategies that I would tell my friends and family is, you get paid by your job. Again, we're under this new like savings forced paradigm where you have to examine every single thing that you purchase. So now you say, I need to be careful with my money, even more so than before. If I buy something today casually, it could turn out that this is like some $14,000 good that I'm buying today, and you have to be really careful. So in that mindset, you pay your bills. You should be paying yourself first as one of those bills when you get paid. I mean, this is all finance 101. You bring Bitcoin into the course because at some point, hopefully you may have a little bit left over. And if you do, what do you do with it? You can put it in the bank. Sure. You can put it in the stock market. Sure. You can buy MicroStrategy, whatever. But, it makes sense for many people to just put it in Bitcoin. So now you have this ongoing stream. It's not, some people may call it dollar cost averaging. I don't view it that way. It's like you're getting paid, you pay your bills, you save the rest in Bitcoin.
Yep.
Bars.
It's as simple as that. It is literally as simple as that. People overcomplicate it, but it's really, really straightforward, right? Stay humble, stack stats, stay solvent. 100% agree. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we have the culture segment left up. We're going to talk more about this shadowy supercoder that we have on today's show. We have Ant and the projects that he's working on. But before we do so, guys, we have 1,112 people watching between YouTube and X, and we got about 63 of you watching live on Rumble. If you guys are enjoying the content, really, really helps with the algos if you smash the like button. On Rumble, it's grayed out. This grayed out thumbs up. If you smash it, turns green. On YouTube, you hit the like button, and on Twitter, you hit the heart button. Really, really helps push the orange signal forward. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the culture. We still have a lot to talk about today. Let's check it out.
The Daily Culture.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I do want to give a shout out to Kaboomracks. They are the most trusted place to buy, sell, and host mining equipment. This is where I personally buy my Bitcoin mining ASICs. To check out their marketplace, you got to scan the QR code on your screen or check the link in the video description. There, you can connect with a member of their sales team. They make purchasing their products easy and transparent. You could also sell your Bitcoin mining ASICs with them, access their vast network of domestic and international customers when you sell your mining equipment with Kaboomracks. What are you waiting for? Start your Bitcoin mining journey today. Check out Kaboomracks. Scan the QR code or check the link in the video description.
All right, man. And you've created what I think is one of the coolest projects out there, timechangestats.com. So maybe just give people the context. Like, where did this idea come from? What made you want to create this? And then we can kind of go in and dig on what is actually shown on the website.
Yeah, sure. Well, first, let me thank you for, highlighting time chain stats. For me, it represents my journey in Bitcoin and my understanding in Bitcoin in the sense that, when I first came in, there just wasn't a bunch of information that was that I could personally trust. There's a bunch of little websites and things and kind of disparate information in different places, or you were trusting huge, shitcoin websites, and which was fine at the beginning of my journey. But as I was going along, and y'all probably will understand this too, you start saving things that you like. And I would save a little bookmark that I liked, or I would find a site that I liked, and I would save it. And it just kind of manifested. I'm a web developer, and like I said before, it started up as just kind of like a bulletin board of my things, like things that I like, things that I was saving, a site that I could send around to my friends and family. And over time, as I became more like focused on Bitcoin only, I just, you go through this understanding around the data. Look, there's tons of data dashboards out there. This is like public data off of the network. I mean, you can go get this data yourself. And a lot of companies offer it for free. But there's just and there's also much better dashboards, by the way. Clark Moody dashboard, totally inspired a lot of the way that time chain stats developed. Bitbo has a ton of charts. Like, I feel like we're all kind of showing different visualizations of this Bitcoin network. You have time chain calendar, which is an excellent block explorer, historical displayer. I mean, with time chain stats, I didn't want to have to go to a bunch of different websites, and I also didn't want to have to go to, sifting through a bunch of shitcoins. Like I said, in the beginning, it's fine. Like, you go to CoinMarketCap and you like look at all the shitcoin ads and whatever else, to get your Bitcoin information, and I wasn't running a node. Not everybody's going to run a node. So, but everybody should have access to this type of data, without, I believe, having to pay for a paywall and all this other stuff. So eventually I just built this site for myself. I'm the first user. I'm happy that a bunch of people use it, and it thrills me to see, people express love for it. And when I hear that people are using it or that it's helped them, which I hear quite a bit, actually, it makes me feel good. But ultimately, if nobody was here, like, I would still be having this site. Like, it's my site that I built, like, need to purpose for myself. And so when you're looking at it, you're literally seeing like a kind of a Bitcoin only perspective of Bitcoin. And I've got a bunch of stuff on here that has grown from the community over time. I'm very open about taking user feedback. Sometimes I'll put on Twitter, or X, like, hey, what do you need in the next feature? Or what do you like about this or that? And people will come back. In fact, there's a little preloader that when you first pull up timechainstats.com, it'll give you like a little random quote while the page is loading. And, I asked the community online on Twitter, give me some samples. I selected some of my favorite ones and they all ended up in there. So, there's been other things. Somebody said to me one time, they wanted to see a chart of, stocks relative to Bitcoin over time. So I included the TradingView API and I built that. And so then it becomes a part of the site. So over time, it's kind of, a project of love from really a bunch of different people. But ultimately, like I said, it's my project. I don't get paid for it other than donations. I did implement a donations button, and people do send me donations, which one of the hosting services that I use takes Bitcoin. So I take those, those donations, a large part of those donations, and I move them over to that. So that's been really helpful. And, I don't have any ads. My thing is this, I believe that data should be available in a dashboard format like this, that doesn't have any advertising, doesn't track any user accounts. Like, you don't need to log in. Unlike Glassnode, you don't have to pay, to use it. I understand they have a bunch of different views and whatever else, but it's the trade-off. I don't want to have to pay, to see some kind of data. Like, if I have data, I put it on my site and everyone can benefit. I don't have shit coins on here. I'm not going to have some kind of focus of the latest, ordinals projects or any of this kind of stuff. Like, it's not going to be on here. Things that I like, right now I put a note up there for Pleb Underground. These guys, they promote my website and I put it up there, thank you. There's some links on the bottom with some websites or products that I like personally, because I send them around and I don't get paid for it. Like they're not sponsoring the site or anything like that. So because of that, it allows me to have a lot of freedom to build the website, exactly as I want it. And I've had some people come to me and, they want to either sponsor it or they kind of sniff around about, the hits, and they want to know like, what's the traffic like? And it's almost like they want to buy it or whatever. But the reality is, if they bought it, I'd just have to make another one, because as soon as they bought it, I would have to be like, I just wouldn't trust it anymore. What happened to me was transformative when CoinMarketCap was purchased by Binance in the last cycle for $400 million about. And when that happened, a lot of people don't even know that. And I had already lived through the experience of Bitcoin.com selling BCH under a Bitcoin button. So, for me, seeing CoinMarketCap get purchased by Binance, I was just like, wow, like I really have to put on the gas on this thing, because there is a need for a dashboard that people can just hit and just, come and look at the stuff. They can verify it if they need to. I've got links to the block explorers and stuff. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell.
Love it, bro. Love it. It's one thing we talk about here all the time as Bitcoiners. You just scratch your own itch, and if people like it, then it's going to get exposure. But you did mention Glassnode, Ant. Does Time Chain Stats have all the same data as Glassnode, or do they have some proprietary stuff over at Glassnode that you don't actually have on Time Chain Stats?
Yeah, they've got their own proprietary stuff. I'm not calling their APIs at all. I am calling a bunch of APIs, like tons and tons of different APIs. Plus, there is some other data in there. And, it's like with Glassnode, the biggest thing that I have for them is, yes, they have their views and some other charts and things. But again, you're having to pay a lot. And then they just upped it recently, like for the API access, and it wasn't a small raise, it was like a lot. And I just personally fundamentally believe a couple things. Like one, again, this data is out there. You can go filter it yourself and figure it out if you wanted to, if you really did. And then B, if you really believe that Bitcoin is some kind of fundamental change for humanity, and we're like living at the epoch of at the dawn of some kind of, change for this planet, then I don't want to sell this data. I'll make money other ways. Like I don't need to sell this data. And so I understand they have a business model doing that, and that's okay. If it's not them, it's going to be somebody else. But Time Chain Stats, I'm not going to be selling it like that. You're not going to get a user account that you have to come, dox yourself and all this other stuff just to be able to check what block height it is because you don't run a node, or you want to see it on your phone, or whatever it is.
Love it, bro. All right. One question. This is like one of those choose your favorite child questions, but what is one of your favorite aspects of Time Chain Stats?
Okay, I have two. So one is the mix and match metrics. And this is something that a lot of people don't even know even exists. And I could probably do a better job of messing around with
you
the
can screen share it if you want. We'll pull it up.
UI. But actually, I see it up there. It's the top metrics besides the price. So you've got the price at the top left, love it or hate that. It's important to a lot of people. And to the right of that are like 6 or 7 metrics. A lot of people don't know that if you click those, you'll be introduced with a pop-up and you can select other metrics. And they get stored on your side. So I don't know what you're picking. I don't know what you're clicking. It's being stored in your browser, in your cache on local storage. So this is pretty cool, because the next time you come, your dashboard at the top will be set up for you. And it works really well on the phone because it's the top stuff, like above the fold. As soon as you pull it up on the phone, if you have it set up the way you like it, it'll automatically show. And then of course, you can press the price and change, filter through different currencies as well, and everything will change there. But that's one of my favorite features. And then the other feature that I use all the time is the calculator. I have a pretty slick calculator that I built, and it has just a real simple, I've seen some other calculators. You have to watch out with these calculators online too, because you don't know how deeply they're tracking your inputs. I've seen these sites that'll be like, portfolio trackers, and they're free and whatever. And you go in there and put how much you have, but they're like capturing your IP and like all this other stuff. Like that doesn't happen for me. So it's just, clean, easy to use, very fast calculator at the top right of the website.
Let me ask you something, Ant. So you're saying all this stuff is happening in the back end. Is there a way for people to verify the code? Is this open source?
Well, I mean, you can if you crack into the inspector, you can look at everything. It's all there. But no, it's not. I haven't opened up the GitHub open source yet. I probably will in this next cycle. Gotcha.
We'll
see.
Very cool, man. Yeah, man. I love how you value the privacy aspect. You leave all that stuff on people's browsers. You don't collect the data yourself. And it's like you said, man, this is a passion project. You're doing it, because you love Bitcoin and you appreciate it. And it's allowed you to stay independent in creating this. And this is obviously something that the community values a lot.
Love it. Okay. 2 questions left for me. What's the future for you and Time Chain Stats? I know it's a passion project, but do you have anything on the roadmap? Are you working on anything that maybe will drop soon?
Yeah. So, we have 08 coming, and right now I say we, but it's just me. I just, speak that way from my years in the industry. But yeah, so 08 is coming, and this is going to be pretty cool. I don't want to tell you all of the features because 07 was kind of under wraps too, and when I dropped it, it had like a buzz because of how there were so many things that really surprised people. And this type of upgrade from 07 to 08 is almost on that same level. And so it's going to be really cool. I'm opening up a lot of services, and for people to look at and use. And also I have another site, a kind of a companion site called BTC Lexicon. And this is like a compendium of Bitcoin definitions, terms and definitions written from a Bitcoin only focus. So, you might see the word shitcoin in there, but it's describing it, from a Bitcoin focus. And then I also include other definitions that I found. So it's kind of an aggregator site. I've got a bunch of popular terms in there. And at any rate, this stuff is being converted over to JSON, and like it should have been a long time ago, and it's going to be just fed into Time Chain Stats. And so we'll have, I'm going to be ending up killing BTC Lexicon and bringing it into Time Chain Stats. And that's just one thing. Well, actually 2, because I mentioned the services. 2 things that are coming pretty soon.
Love it, dude. Love it. Okay. Last question for you, Ant. This question we always ask our guests to leave our audience with. What's the last 2 stats you want to leave with the audience? It could be about Time Chain Stats. It could be about Bitcoin. It could be about life. Whatever's top of mind. What's the last message you want to leave with the audience?
I would just say keep learning about Bitcoin, especially if you're new here. It takes a long time. Like I said, even still after many, many years, there's just so much that I just barely even understand about this thing. And I think that everybody could, you see a lot of arguments and stuff online, and it's easy to get swayed by the people that you enjoy following the most and things like this. But you really just have to go back to the basics. Bitcoin, you need to study this stuff. I mean, there's no real room for personalities here. You look at me all in this get up. I mean, I don't need my persona to like help me in this space. It's about Bitcoin, and people just need to learn more about it.
Amen to that.
Love it, bro.
Amen to that. Anyways, Ant, thank you so much for joining us on Simply Bitcoin Live. We really, really appreciate it, brother. Guys, check out timechainstats.com and follow Ant on Twitter at 2140data. And you can keep up with what Ant is working on, his latest projects. And thank you, Ant, for joining us. Appreciate it.
For sure. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys, that was our show. If you enjoyed the show, you know what to do. Smash that like button. Consider subscribing if you feel like we provided you value. But the number one thing you could do to help push the peaceful Bitcoin revolution is share Bitcoin content. In fact, share Ant's project, share Bitcoin music, share Bitcoin art, right? It's about winning over the culture. We win over the culture. We win over the war. Guys, love you. We'll be back tomorrow for the Friday episode, which includes a meme review of Simply Bitcoin Live. Peace out, everybody.
episode was brought to you by BitcoinWell.com, a Bitcoin-only platform on a mission to enable financial independence.